All right, everyone. So I just wanted to kind of hop on here and kind of give my draft grades here. I'm not going to be doing A minus, B plus, C plus, all of that. I'm not doing that. I'm doing a tier list here because that's how I want to do it. And I like doing a tier list better. Now, look, I'm not going to go team by team and in depth pick by pick for them. When I really do these draft tier list grading, most of the teams are in the B tier because most teams did have a solid draft. Not every team or a majority of the teams had an S tier or an A tier draft or even a C tier or the D tier draft. So teams that I put in the B tier, not really going to go all that in depth into their picks and why I really liked it. It's just they had a solid draft. There was nothing really significant about it. But everyone, let's get into this. We are going to start with the Cardinals here. I like that they drafted Cameron Thomas out of San Diego State, knowing you might lose J.J. Watt in a couple, probably next year. And you also lost Chandler Jones. So look, they also picked Sanders out of Cincinnati in the third round. So look, they got two good defensive ends in the third round that can move along your defensive line, which I think is good for the system they run. And then they also got Trey McBride. I don't think this pick was needed. And I think if they kind of pick someone maybe along the offensive line or defensive line earlier for me in this draft, for me, the Cardinals would probably be A tier, but they're a B tier. I think they had a solid draft. I really like their first three picks, though. Trey McBride, my second favorite tight end in this draft. So he is a good pick and a good player at the position he got picked at. Uh, the Falcons, they're going to be a B tier. When you draft Drake London, you can't really go wrong. They also drafted Arnold Ebiketie out of Penn State. He was one of my favorite edge rushers in this draft. I think he's going to be really good. If they drafted Malik Willis, for me, this would have been an A tier or an S tier draft. But look, they drafted Desmond Ridder. I'm not a Desmond Ridder fan. For me, the Falcons are a B tier, but they had a solid draft. So I'll give them credit for that. And then the Ravens. They'd be an S tier if they drafted a wide receiver. You got rid of Marquise Brown, and you're already not a wide receiver destination in free agency. And it's hard enough to trade for a big time wide receiver. So I thought it would have been good for the Ravens to go out and draft someone knowing you lost Marquise Brown and you need help for Lamar Jackson. Get some homegrown talent that you don't have to give up picks or players for or give up money for, knowing it's already hard enough for you to get a wide receiver in the free agent market. So look, if they got a wide receiver, they'd be S tier. But for the Ravens, I really like this draft all around from the really fourth, seventh round all the way to the first round. I really like this draft for them. They got Jalen Armour Davis in the fourth round. I really like him out of Alabama. I think he has the potential to be a really good cornerback. They got David Ajabo in the second round. He's going to be great next to Jason Owe next year when he's able to play, returning from his injury. They got Linderbaum. He was my favorite interior offensive lineman in this draft. They also got Kyle Hamilton, who is a steal at number 14 for them. And look, they also got Travis Jones in the third round. And to me, that just blows my mind. Travis Jones, to me, was a late first round pick. I thought he should have gone way earlier than the third round, but somehow the Ravens didn't overthink that pick. Like I've said before, that's why the Ravens are so good at drafting. They don't follow along with the trend of teams letting players slide. They take that good player that everyone has let slide. And Travis Jones was one of those players. I think he fits their system tremendously, and I really like him as a run defender in that system for the Ravens. So look, the Ravens had an A-tier draft. Would have been S tier if they picked a wide receiver, maybe like Sky Moore. I'm not a big fan of George Pickens, but maybe if they even drafted Alec Pierce, who I really like out of Cincinnati, he went to the Colts. The Bills, I think they had a B draft. I like the Elam pick out of Florida State, I think. And then they got James Cook in the second round. Hopefully he hits for them as a running back because they really need to kind of gain in that run game. But I did like the Bills draft. It was solid. Nothing really stood out. For me, it was A tier and S tier. The Panthers draft, B. I like that they got Matt Corral. I would have liked to see them maybe trade for Baker Mayfield, maybe Jimmy G, or maybe even try and go up and make a move for Malik Willis. So I thought they could have done better than Matt Corral, but they went to go get a quarterback that was young when they were in need of a quarterback. So they got Matt Corral. I also like the Ikonwu pick at offensive tackle for them. So I think they had a solid draft. The Bears, I like that they addressed the secondary with Kyler Gordon in that secondary, but I thought they should have drafted a wide receiver earlier, especially with their third and second round picks earlier for them for their first two picks. So look, definitely not A tier, but I do think they had a solid draft. The Bengals, I like their pick of Zach Carter, Daxton Hill, Taylor Britt out of Nebraska. I didn't think they needed two safeties at the top of the draft, but they're two safeties that I like. I'm going to give them a B grade. The Raiders get a B grade. They didn't have too many draft picks, but I like what they did with them. I like that the Chargers got JT Woods in this draft. The Vikings, they got Lewis Sign, or is it Seen? You guys correct me down in the comment section below. But for me, my favorite pick for them was Andrew Booth. I do think that the Vikings traded down a bit too much, but I do like who they got at the top of the draft. The Browns, they were in consideration for the A tier for me because I really like that they got David Bell at the end of the third round and Perion Winfrey at the start of the fourth round. Those were steals in the draft for the Browns. I did kind of like that Emerson pick. Didn't like the Alex Wright pick. I thought it was an overall solid draft for the Browns. I think in a couple of years, we'll look back on Perion Winfrey and David Bell being those signature players for the Browns in this draft. The Cowboys, I thought they could have addressed the receiver need a bit earlier, but I did like that they got Sam Williams and they got Tyler Smith. Those were two of my favorite players at their positions. The Lions, for me, they're A tier. Immediately, when you get Jamison Williams and you get Aiden Hutchinson, that's automatically an A tier draft. Just you could just draft them and that'd be an A tier draft. But they also got Josh Pascal to go next to Aiden Hutchinson. I really like Josh Pascal. And then they got a Kirby Joseph. And I like Kirby Joseph out of Illinois. I like that pick for them to really bluster up their secondary. And I think they did it right with really third to fourth round pick there for them. The Broncos, B tier, they didn't do much, but I did like what they did. The Packers, for me, they're S tier. I really like the Packers draft. They got Devontae Wyatt. They got Christian Watson, who I thought automatically my favorite receiver in this draft behind Garrett Wilson. Really like this draft for the Packers here. I don't think they went wrong with their first three picks at all. I think Christian Watson is going to go great with Aaron Rodgers. They also got Quay Walker. So look, I really like this draft for the Packers. They got three good players at the top of the draft that I think can make impacts day one, especially for Christian Watson, knowing he has Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. The Giants B tier, I like the Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau picks. I think they drafted Wayne Dale Robinson a bit too early, but I do like him as a player. I think the Giants, I think they're just at the edge of A tier. I really like their first three picks. The Texans, I think they're B tier. Really like the Stingley pick out of LSU. Really like the John Mechie pick. I think they had a solid draft. The Colts had a solid draft. They put weapons and pieces around Matt Ryan with, I think it was Jelani Woods, and they got Alec Pierce, so I like that. The Jaguars draft, they get a B. I'm not the biggest fan of Travon Walker, but I like his game. I thought they ruined the first pick. I thought it should have been Aiden Hutchinson, but they also got Devin Lloyd, who was also my favorite linebacker at the top of the draft. And then the guys that they got throughout the rest of the draft, solid draft for the Jaguars. And then the Chiefs, I think they're S tier. George Karlaftis in the 30s in the first round. Got Trent McDuffie. They traded up for him. They got Sky Moore. I thought they also got Brian Cook. This was an incredible draft for the Chiefs. They filled needs on the offense and defense, and they did that with NFL-ready talent. Really love the draft for the Chiefs here. Rams are in the B tier. Dolphins in the B tier. Patriots, for me, they're C tier. They got Cole Strange. I think they got Taquan Johnson too, if that is his name. If I'm slipping up on his name, I think it's Thornton. Taquan Thornton. They also got him. I thought they just drafted guys that they could have gotten later in the draft and could have gotten guys that were more proven talent earlier in the draft with their first and second round picks. So look, I think the Marcus Jones pick is okay. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I just didn't like that they got guys in the first and second round that they could have drafted probably late second or early third round. Didn't really like that. The Saints, they didn't have a bunch of picks, but Trevor Penning and Chris Olave, two of my favorite prospects at their positions. I think the Saints are in the A tier. They attack their needs with talented players at their positions. The Jets, they're in the S tier. Their first five picks, all picks with five of my favorite guys at their position. Jermaine Johnson is a guy who I think when it's all said and done will be the best edge rusher in this draft when we look back at it. Don't even get at me in the comment section. I'm not willing to debate it. Garrett Wilson was my favorite wide receiver. Ahmad Gardner was my favorite cornerback. They also got Breece Hall. He was my favorite running back. They also got Jeremy Rucker, who was my favorite tight end. Incredible draft at the top of the draft for the Jets here. Really love their draft. They're S tier. They won the draft, in my opinion. And then the Eagles, they're also S tier. When you get Nakobe Dean in the third round, you get Jordan Davis in the first round, and you also trade for A.J. Brown, automatically yes tier. I loved the Eagles draft and what they were able to do via trade also. The Steelers, they picked Kenny Pickett over Malik Willis. Didn't really like that, but I did like that they were able to get DeMarvin Leo later in the draft. George Pickens has a lot of talent. Don't really like him, but he does have a lot of potential. And then they also got Calvin Austin, and I really like that pick for them. It's a solid draft. I think Malik Willis would have put the cherry on top for them. And if they probably addressed needs on the offensive line and along the secondary, it would have been better for them. I thought they could have addressed some more needs, though. There in the B tier, the Seahawks, I thought they had a solid draft. Boye Mafe is a pretty nice prospect. And then they also got Charles Cross. He was my favorite tackle. I think they're in the B tier. The 49ers, I really like that they got Drake Jackson. They had a solid draft, though. They're in the B tier. Titans, they got Malik Willis, Treylon Burks. Who else did the Titans get? Well, just with those two, I think that's a good draft. I think Treylon Burks is a good guy to kind of replace A.J. Brown with. Nah, I'm kind of debating here. Are they A tier? Are they B tier? I think the Titans had a pretty solid draft. Got Malik Willis and Treylon Burks. They also got Robert McCary. I think they had a pretty nice draft. I'll put them in the A tier. Buccaneers had a pretty solid draft. I'll put them in the B tier. And so did the Washington football team. I really like the pick um at the top of the first round for them. Why do I keep forgetting his name? They got wide receiver out of Penn State. He was one of my favorite wide receivers, Jahan Dotson. He was one of my favorite wide receivers, but yeah, really liked the draft. Not really liked it, but it was a solid draft for the Washington Commanders, everyone. I keep calling them the Washington football team, everyone. But this is my tier list for NFL draft grades. The teams that stood out to me were the Packers, the Chiefs, the Jets, the Eagles, the Ravens, the Lions, the Giants, the Saints, and the Titans, everyone. Everyone else really just middle of the pack. And then the Patriots, I thought they drafted guys higher that they could have got later in the draft. So look, this is my tier list. Tell me what you think about it down in the comment section below. Other than that, this has been Malik Hicks, aka The Ranker of the Ultimate Sports TV, signing off. Peace out, and I'll see you on the other side.